Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I want to talk about a different experience of life, and this came after a client said to me not so long since that nothing had changed, but everything looked different. And that, to me, was one of those, light bulb moments for her, but one of those moments of joy for me. When she'd come to first speak with me, there seemed to be a lot of things in her life to be bothered about. There were lots of things that were upsetting her. There were lots of things that seemed to be creating stress in her life. There were relationship issues. There were a lot of things that seemed to be going wrong in her business, in her working life, with her children, with her partner. So much stuff just didn't seem to be in a very good place. And then when she said that, I just felt this wonderful feeling of joy, really, for someone to see that all the people in her life were exactly as they had always been. They were doing the same annoying things. Life was still shoving those tricky obstacles in her pathway. But she was having a completely different experience of those things. And that really is potent in terms of having a nicer life, to see that life doesn't actually have to change for us to have a nicer experience of it. Because let's face it, there are lots of things in our lives that we can do nothing about. They're just things that happen, aren't they? Things that happen in life, things that seem to happen to everybody at the moment. There seems to be a fair few things to be bothered about in life. And don't think that I'm not experiencing some of those things. But there's a few amazing things that happen when we start to see that our experience of that is created through our perspective, through our state of mind. So I think the first thing is that there's suddenly a lot less to do. Like if we think it's the outside world then that's creating our feelings and we want to feel better, so we want the outside world to change, then that's a lot to do. If you've followed my story, you will know that in the end that led to burnout for me. That was the result of trying to control the outside world to make myself feel okay. And so that's the first thing. Suddenly there's less to do. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't want to change our circumstances, that we wouldn't like to make things different, that we don't have preferences about how we would prefer things to be. But the way we tackle those when we don't think our well-being depends on it is fundamentally completely different. When we're coming from this different perspective on things, when we're coming from a calmer place, we just have a better connection to our ability to find solutions. When we're experiencing life in this stressed out, busy-minded way, we don't have as much access to the solutions, because all we're doing really is churning over the old thinking that we've had for years. That it's like what we do then is bring all our old stuff into the present moment. So there's a present moment, there's something happening, and we're bringing with us all the clutter from the past to try and solve something that's new, and it doesn't work. Now, I just want to be really clear that none of this is about spiritually bypassing people's experiences. There are difficult things happening in the world right now. There's no two ways about it. But when you consider that in order to tackle those things best, being up here in a really wound up state of mind is not going to be the best way to do that, then surely anything we can do to help people to have a different experience of those things that are happening to them has to be a good thing. So one of the things that this lady I was talking about, one of the things she fundamentally started to understand was that when she had a wound up, anxious, stressed out feeling, that she was in no fit state to tackle the things she had to tackle. When she was in that state, she knew that it wasn't a good idea to talk to her kids or her partner. She knew not to send an email to her boss, who'd sent her one she wasn't so happy about, or to a client she was dealing with. She knew what to do when she was wound up. She started to see, my state of mind's off right now. That's why I've got this awful feeling. She realized it wasn't coming from the outside world. And then she naturally fell back into a place of calm, which means that she then had the ability to tackle whatever it was, but without all that extra noise in her head. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but you don't work well there. They do surveys of entrepreneurs where they ask them where did they have their best ideas. And they say things like the shower, when they're out for a walk, when they're just on holiday, chilling out, not when they are engrossed in trying to solve something. We just don't work well that way. I mean, this space of having a different experience of the same things is so transformational. I guess over the last 2.5 years, I've just started to notice more and more that things bother me less. Those little habits that our other half has. Anybody familiar with that? Like the stuff he does. He's still doing those things. I know he is. But A, I'm noticing them less. And B, I'm just a lot less bothered about them. So we're going head to head less often because I'm less saying, don't do that, do that. I'm noticing more and more as I'm going into, I need to control him and make him do something different. I need him to be different, which means I spend more time focusing on the things I love about him. And boy, is that a nicer place to be in a relationship. It's fundamentally completely different to being in that place of rallying against another person on a day-to-day basis. I mean, just imagine that. Imagine that nothing changed. Nothing in your life changed at all, but your entire experience of it was different. And by experience, I mean feelings. Imagine if all the things that you thought were stressful were still there, still doing their crazy. Life was still doing its crazy. People were still doing their crazy. All these things were still happening that were crazy. But I'm going to put crazy in inverted commas actually. But you felt okay. I mean, can you just imagine that? can you imagine the solutions you could come up with from that place? So much is possible from that place. So I guess what I want you to leave you with is hope, actually. That no matter what's happening in your life, no matter what seems to be hitting the fan right now, that you can have a different experience of that. You don't have to have the same experience of something. It can stay exactly the same, but you can have a completely different experience. That is available to everyone. When we realize how that experience is being created, it just fundamentally starts to be different. I'll leave you with that note of hope. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.